Should be subject number one tonight is why aren't the leaders of foreign countries listening? Now, that's an interesting start to this. It's taking us to Instagram. I'll share the link as soon as it comes up on my side. All right. Let me share the link. Sorry, pressing the wrong shit. Hold on. All right, got it. No. Wait a minute. Hold on. Okay. Here we go. So here's the link from FQRY Online. Seems to be a conversation. One of the things I hate is they don't allow you to really go back in these conversations. Let me see if it's possible to refresh or something and start over. All right.
Buy from African industry, you say, no, we'd rather go to China. And then guess what? The Chinese will make all the products you want, every single thing you want. By the way, everything here is made in Kenya. Everything is made in Kenya, down to the suit I'm wearing. The Chinese will make anything you want, any single thing you want, down to your roads, down to your hospitals, down to the schools that you will take your children to be educated in. And then they will say you have to teach your children Mandarin as part of your loan agreement. Oh, Africa. And after they have built the infrastructure in your country, why do you think they build the infrastructure? Industry, you say, no, we'd rather go to China. And then guess what? The Chinese will make all the products you want, every single thing you want. By the way, everything here is made in Kenya. Everything is made in Kenya, down to the suit I'm wearing. The Chinese will make anything you want, any single thing you want, down to your roads, down to your hospitals, down to the schools that you will take your children to be educated in. And then they will say you have to teach your children Mandarin as part of your loan agreement. Oh, Africa. And after they have built the infrastructure in your country, why do you think they build the infrastructure? Chinese are not stupid. So they're building this infrastructure so that they can take out, not bring in, take out of the continent. And once they've taken out, they tell you, well, you know what? You did not pay for the loan. So now, guess what? We're taking your land. We now own your land. That's what they do. So this is neo-colonialism happening right in front of our eyes. No African leader is speaking about the neo-colonialism and the fact that we are being bought out of our own continent.
All right. I think we should have all gotten the gist or the sense of what is being discussed. It was kind of distracting with this guy rolling a gob, but whatever. Why aren't the leaders of foreign countries listening to things like this? Buana, you're familiar with China, and I know you've heard RJ Mahdi speak about China. In fact, I had him on the show before I interviewed him, and he was talking about, well, who else is coming to do it, or who else is going to do this stuff? What are your thoughts about China and Africa?
I, I think that there is a mutual relationship that's going on. Well, let me not say a mutual. Let me say mutual. I think that there's an exchange that's going on because China is trying to create infrastructure, and people may say that why aren't the Africans themselves creating and producing infrastructure? Maybe there are not enough people to produce or create infrastructure. But what I would do in that particular scenario is either I would have the local African people watch everything that the Chinaman coming into Africa is doing to create and build infrastructure, or record it, take that knowledge and know-how and educate educate, show the craftsmen, the builders, what these Chinese are doing to construct these mega models, these mega infrastructural developments in terms of the different areas that exist, and just copy it. The Chinese come to America, and what they do? They come there with their cameras. You always see them with a camera on their chest. What do you think they doing? They taking pictures of the infrastructure, how it's done, what it's made of, to take certain elements of that and reproduce it in their home country. Why can't we do the same kinds of things? I don't know. I really don't know, brother. You know what I mean? At this point, because there's been so many great African leaders in terms of people like Nkrumah and many others who have written down, chapter and verse what is actually happening, what the relationship is, not only with the Chinese country, but the European country. See, the Europeans were the first people to do it. The Chinese are just coming after to repeat the same thing that the Europeans did, but on a different kind of arrangement. And I'm saying that there needs to be will. There needs to be a willingness. And I am at this point where I don't think the political class in these countries are going to do it. So the individuals who know better have to take the bull by the horn and take the steps and measurements, even if it's small scale, even if from a small scale, to inform, to pull in people who have an interest in terms of creating certain developments within their society. Because I have found when you look at America right now, America used to be controlled by the political entities, the government, and so forth and so forth. Now it's controlled by the corporations. The corporations have more say so in the so-called first world countries than the governments themselves. In fact, the governments themselves play kowtow to the corporations. So it was through private interests that really kind of reformulated the institutions within America. And I find that it has to do it's going to take the people from within these the countries who have the vision and the foresight in terms of development and scale and doing certain things within them countries to change the societies of themselves. You can't depend on the so-called political classes because historically they've been failures, and I think that that's going to continue. They're always going to look look north or look to the United States or look to China in terms of trying to recreate their societies. I think it has to come from within, and I think that it's going to be selected groups of people who will be willing to change the format in terms of what happens in these countries. I don't know if I really answered that question, but that's my thoughts on this particular point, man.
Now I'm feeling you on that. Real Black Gentleman in the chat said China uses the colonial template Europe overlaid on Africa in order to pick Africa apart. Buana, before I go to Oni, there's some of the folks who will come around, like Jose, who believes in Russia, for example, who believes in aligning themselves with a Russia. Do you see China as bad as the European powers, in your opinion?
That's an interesting question. That's an interesting question. I think that the Europeans, when they came to Africa, they came with a different kind of model, and it would seem like their model was more abusive, in terms of the restrictions and the abuses that they did on to African people. What China has done is to say that, yo, we just really want to come into your development and we really want your natural resources. We won't participate in your internal affairs. We won't force y'all to do any specific things in terms of the conditions that y'all gonna have to meet, or human rights, or you can't do this, or we're gonna make y'all do it. They say, no, 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 no. We're not gonna interfere with your internal situation and what y'all do amongst yourselves. We just want y'all natural resources, which is more insidious arrangement where they're gonna extract all the mineral resources out of your country, but they gonna leave you at the end of the day. They're gonna leave you to fight amongst one another. So it's like, one there was a time where we used to fight over the oil. Now they can extract the oil. We're gonna just fight each other just to fight each other's sake. So the both arrangements are insidious, But I think that one is I would suggest that the European arrangement or relationship is more insidious than the Chinese, but the results at the end of the day will be the same because back in the day it was the extraction for the Commonwealth, and the Commonwealth really went back to either the went back to England. Now the new neo-colonial situation is going back to the United States. Now but now the arrangement is it's going to China. It's going to China, even though they decide not to really participate into the day-to-day affairs of the internal politics of the African countries. But I think the results will be the same. I think the results will be the same. The strategy may be different, but I think the results will remain the same.
And ultimately, it's about the results, right? It's about how things end.
It always is. It always is. It's always about how things, and you always the method we could always shuffle over, and we could always argue over, and we could always discuss. But it's the results that people are gonna look at and have to either benefit from or suffer through.
Absolutely. Bono, what are you drinking on tonight? E&J or some rum or something?
No, I ain't gonna get no rum tonight because you tell me you wasn't gonna be here, so I thought it was just gonna be me and Oni. So I just figured I might have had to be clear-headed. But I tell you what, I gotta go buy my cigar somewhere through this program. I tell you that.
All right. All right. I appreciate you, Bono. Oni, you saw the video and you see the prompt. Why aren't the leaders of foreign countries listening? Let's deal with that part. Why do you think? I mean, we all should kind of know why they're not paying it no mind, but talk about it. Why aren't the leaders, listening to what the folks are telling them?
Well, here's the trouble, right? One of the problems is that we have to be in reality, and that's one of the main things that I am concerned about in regards to our people. Reality is this, right? Like look at my farm, right? They don't get rain for 3 weeks or whatever. The crops dry up, right? The money is lost. You know what could save my crops? One of them, I don't know what they call them, but you know how they say the U.S. government could like change the weather? Huh? HARP, yeah, HARP. Like a HARP situation. Now, most people, like most black folk, just generally around the world, don't do no HARP shit. You get what I'm saying? But like, let's say you are in charge of a country, y'all don't get rain for a minute, right? Now you got to turn around and say, America, right? Or China or wherever, you got to go around to somebody who does do this HARP stuff and be like, we'll pay you. We'll pay you to do this HARP stuff, right? So that we could get our crops and we could eat food or some shit, And that's the reality. And I think it was this brother, like you had an interview with that brother, I think RJ Mahdi back in the day. But it's like, that really is the crux of it. If you can't do it, but somebody else can't, and you need it, right? Then you got to pay somebody. It's just like, that's the way of that's the reality of the world. If you cannot do it, if I can't carry buckets of water to, because there was a river next to my farm. Well, not too close, but if I can't carry buckets of water to my site, or load up a truck or whatever, right? If I can't do that, I got to pay somebody else to do it. And if nobody around me can do it, and that's basic labor, right? But if nobody else around me could do it, then I got to pay somebody else. The same thing, the same way, all the cars in Africa are produced outside of Africa. Well, not all of them, but you get what I'm saying? Like, a lot of the cars that I've seen were produced outside. A lot of the air conditioners, a lot of the light switches, a lot of light bulbs. We as a people fell behind. And what China offers, what we have to realize too about China is this. China is producing cheap manufacturing to America too. China's producing cheap manufacturing to Europe too. The idea that they're only doing it to Africa, or that it is even colonialism if they do it to Africa, is not real. The big difference is that other people, like the white boy at least builds his own road. You know what I'm saying? Like the white boy at least builds his own road. So I mean, I personally like I don't agree with China building our fucking roads. No, I don't. Right? But I have to be realistic too. If black people, particularly like us in the black diaspora who are like not even in Africa, are like, yo, why don't you guys build your own roads? Like, no, you supposed to get down there. You supposed to put forth the capital. You supposed to put forth the engineers. You supposed to put forth the team, and then you build the damn roads.
I like that one. Go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you, and the thing is this, you probably can't do it cheaper than China. And even if you build this engineering firm, you probably will be overlooked by China because China has better prices. True. But that's why we have to be about a political mindset where we say, for real, it don't matter if they are cheaper, we should hire our own. But at the same time, we have to do it because it's like how you were saying about the curriculum, right? If let's say Nigeria has a curriculum straight out of Europe, right? And we're like, man, why you got that curriculum straight out of Europe? Where else are they gonna get a curriculum from if we ain't writing it? You know? I mean, sure, you could say, well, why don't we write it? But I mean, like I actually don't know why they don't fucking write it because that's something that's not even that complicated. But at the same time, it's like that's what it is. So why people not listening? Because the thing about it's like I guess Carter G. Woodson said it. Young people talk about what they are doing, old people talk about what they have done, and fools talk about what they are. Like what they're going to do or something like that. Oh,
talk about others or something, right? Yeah.
Huh?
Talk about others or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. But it's like, the trouble is that people ain't listening because you're supposed to be like, because we as an African people are not collectively organized to the point where we could be doing shit without China. Because like I said, with that HARP thing, like I mean, obviously I can't afford that, but I could understand that if a nation really needed it to rain, right? That they'll probably call up some European, and then we'd be like, oh yuck, how are you gonna call it? Why don't you get? It's like who doing HARP though,
right?
Like who you know, like unless you know Storm from X-Men or some shit, ain't nobody black manipulating the weather like that. I'm just saying, like so that's what I would say.
No, I appreciate that. Only I think Buana also said something that. I echo those sentiments. I think sometimes we might oversimplify some things a little bit. I agree with Buana when he says we're supposed to be studying, recording what they're doing. Something tells me they don't let you do it. Something tells me they don't let you do it because we know that when African nations were getting independence, quote unquote independence in the 60s and whatnot, these guys were going in and destroying the plumbing and the infrastructure, flushing cement down pipes and all kinds of shit. And as a matter of fact, I think if I remember correctly, they did that back home a couple of years back. One of those hotels that didn't come to fruition. The Chinese and them was pouring concrete down the pipes. I heard, and bursting the pipes. So I have a feeling that they kind of exclude you from studying it, but that's something that we need to be more persistent about. We got to get in there. Listen, I'm here to learn. Go ahead, Buana. Sorry.
The argument is that they speak, the people who they bring in, they usually speak in Mandarin, so they would not necessarily be able to work alongside the Bahamian labor force because primarily you speak English, so they would just rather work, in terms of just work as a group together. And I'm saying that if I was a governmental official or a leader of a country, I will not allow or permit, because Penland wouldn't, you never done it, but I would not allow or permit someone to come into my country and not allow me or some of my workers or some of my laborers not to participate in the building or anything that's done in this country. So it wouldn't happen. I would not sign the contract because I know they want something from me as well. The relationship has to be reciprocated. So it's something that not just a loan, but it's something that I'm going to permit, whether it's through the extraction of minerals or resources or whatever. There's something that they want, and it's something that they're willing to give away. So I'm not gonna allow these people to come into my country and not give me access to what these guys are doing on my property. They could be planting bombs on my property for all I know how. So there has to be someone internally from my country that oversees all the things that goes into the building any infrastructure or infrastructural development that's happening in my country, because this is a foreign element. There's a natural national security concern to think about if I have to use that excuse. So I'm gonna have somebody on wherever I'm building. You know what I mean?
On
So
site.
I on site. That's the word I'm looking for, to ensure what they are doing is not illegal. It's been done properly, and I can monitor it for future reference. So when I want to do it my goddamn self, I could do it myself and say, "Here, boys, this is how it's done." You know what I mean? Chapter and verse.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I think also, you guys brought up some excellent points. I think we have to address the childlike nature of Black folks too. I think we got to start to grow up now. We got to start taking on the hard tasks now. I think this idea that you're going to sit back and watch other people do the work and not expect that other people are going to take the profit too, whatever that looks like, right? The profits, right? They're gonna take the big piece of chicken, as gas would say, right? Like this idea that you're gonna sit back and folks are gonna just build shit for you, and you ain't gonna learn how to do it for self. But somehow this is gonna work out well for you. I think we got to get off of that now. And I like I think it was Oni who said it. We have to start getting, and I'm talking to the people who listen to this show and around these parts too. We got to start getting to that point of being doers and being people who pick up and create projects and finish them. One of the things I like with Oni, I'm gonna give him his flowers after he got some flack this week, but I'm gonna give him his flowers, and it's genuine. And funny enough, I'm gonna actually give Tariq Nasheed some flowers in a sense, because they remind me of each other, but in different ways.
Dang, man.
No. You'll get it in a second. Oni's not a grifter, right? Tariq is. But one thing I give Tariq is respect for. I used to listen to Tariq religiously back in the day. One thing I give him is respect for. If Tariq Nasheed sits on his platform and says, you know something, I think we should do a documentary on Africans in space or some shit, he's going to do that documentary. You understand? He is going to do it. So when Tariq was coming out with this Hidden History Museum, I saw certain people like Brandon and them from Pan-African Strikes Back say, oh, Tariq ain't build no museum. No, I knew once he got that money, he was going to do something called a museum. Now, is it an actual museum? That's debatable to me. It's a lounge, whatever. But what the same thing goes with Oni. If Oni tells he's going to make a first-person shooter game, he's going to make the first-person shoot. If he tells you he's going to write a children's book, he's going to do the children's book. Speaking of those things, check out Oni's YouTube page for the information on how to purchase his latest children's book. Get a couple of for the kids around you, man. So make sure and do that. That's the kind of stuff I want to see the rest of us doing, including myself, right? Including myself. I want to see our folks taking up the challenge to fill certain gaps. Yeah, you might be the only person at first, but eventually we'll build a nice number of people behind these things. We all supposed to be picking up something and getting something done. Does anyone on the panel want any last words here?
Yes, I want to echo them sentiments because I do have to give Tariq Nasheed shit. It's coming out of my mouth, but to give him credit because whatever ideas that comes into his mind, he at least sees them through. And for the most part, not everything, but for the most part, even when sometimes he fails. Now he wouldn't say he failed on a particular project, but at least he sees it through. So I give respect to where respect is due, because I myself try my hardest to be a man of my word. That's not necessarily a popular thing among us because ninjas, we say all kind of crazy things and make all kind of crazy promises, but when the rubber meets the road, you see who is who. You know what I mean? You see who about that life, who ain't about that life. So if in my short time in knowing Oni, I see him to be a consistent person, and the fact that the brother went to as much as we could, as much as you all guys want to be heavy-handed with him, the brother actually went to the continent. He bought land. Yes, he bust off some women, but I mean, listen, hey, but I gotta give the man respect where respect is due. So I give respect to all the black men who are about that life, who say something and they try their best to see it through to the end, even though sometimes it may not turn out the way that you wish it to. At least he took the risk. You know what I mean? At least he took the risk, he took the chance, and he saw something through to the end. And I think that more of us need to be that inclined. So I'll stop there.
I'm in Ra. Let's welcome Brother Bakari to the panel this week. Bakari, how are you?
What's up? What's up?
Yes, sir.
Well, right now I'm gonna say it like this. I got credit for one of my tether brothers. Respect. That's Oni. Cause y'all giving respect to the biggest grifter, hustler, who got everything done with somebody else's money. But I can't tell y'all how to do it. I'm just saying, you can't hustle people and get my respect. You can't steal from your people and get my respect. That's just me.
Well,
It's easy to.
Bakari, let me just interject like that. The respect I'm giving is on a particular matter. I got, you could meet a man who has killed 50 people, but if he was charitable to children or something like that, you could give him respect on that particular matter, not the other stuff. So I don't respect him for being a grifter at all. But what I'm trying to get across to folks is, if you are listening to people who are doing stuff, get involved and do something too. If you have an idea, work on the idea and try to see it through. You might fail. So it's not really about Tariq Nasheed per se overall, but as far as that goes, I give him his props. He's and in fact, it's what leads him to be a grifter, to be honest. But it's because he's a person who, if he says he's going to do, if he conceives something, he's going to do it. Now, Bakari, go ahead.
Okay. I'm just clowning. I'm just
What do you say?
clowning.
Say it again. You can't hear Bakari. Say it again.
I said, man, y'all might be our downfall. I'm just clowning.
I know, right? They all tethers, yo.
No, not not only.
Why gotta be a downfall? Why gotta be a downfall?
Wait, what?
Hey, look, I'm just clowning, man. I'm just clowning. I understood what he's saying.
Where keyboard is?
Oh, he at work. I'm about to go pick him up in a minute.
Okay.
And I understand what Koku's saying. See through and finish what you start. If you out here bumping your gums and you're saying you're gonna do it, you go ahead and you do it and you finish it. I understand what Koku is saying. I understand what Wana is saying. I do understand that. But what's up, everybody? Y'all can go ahead to the next topic. I was just coming on here to speak and say what up right now, and then take my shot. Then take a shot at Koku and Bawana.
He did take a shot. He did take a shot. But you know what? You know about Makari. It's earlier than that. You can get your shots. Back.
Yeah, I do like what Bakari was saying though about OPM. Using other people's money is like a cheat code. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the thing that happened with that farm. In fact, like my quote unquote business partner, like she using my money. So it's like if you win or lose, it don't really matter. If your project is crap, it don't really matter because you just go. All you could get is profit. You know what I mean? You don't really lose anything financially. Now, granted, if you put in work, then you lose labor, but you don't really lose anything financially. And so I could say another thing that happened. One of these women tricked me up, and a lot of women or whatever. So Buana, so one of these women tricked me up, and she was like, "Hey, I need some money to buy a bar or some shit," and I was like, "Hey, whatever," right? So she gets a bar, and whether the bar does good or bad, I don't see nothing. Now, if the bar does good for her, right, then she's going to be set. And if the bar does bad for her, she could just close up the bar and try something else. But because, like, if you're using other people's money, right, there's no real loss. It's not the same kind of loss, as when you do it on your own. Now, not to say that now, I mean, so that's another thing that I would like factor in, like what would be a big difference between what Tariq is doing and what I'm doing, in the sense of like, like I didn't really fly to Africa on borrowed money. You know what I mean? And so Tariq might fly to Africa on borrowed money, and I'm not saying that that's necessarily bad, but I'm just saying that there's a different risk involved. Because whether you do good or bad, like whether you succeed or fail, it's like, well, at the end of the day, you didn't really lose anything.
Right.
Like Tariq would collect money for his Hidden Colors documentary, right? And then when you have all that money, like, you could produce a documentary. You know what I'm saying? Because you already have all that money. And then he would sell that documentary and make more money on top of already getting money, right? But then go to look at Chancellor Williams, who had to sell his house in order to finish his book. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference in terms of like what kind of risk you're trying to take. And I think that, yeah, I mean, it's like, I could see how, finishing something when somebody else already paid for it is like it's something. But it like, realistically, it's like, if I had like, for instance, if I want to write a book on like, if I wanted to write a children's book, and then somebody just gave me, I don't know, 20 grand to write the children's book, and all I had to do was pay a writer and pay an artist and pay pay a editor, right? I pay these people, and then I pocket the rest of the money. I would finish the book even quicker. You know what I mean? If I don't actually take a risk on my own, that's different. Now, when I did write a children's book, ain't nobody was paying me, and so I had to, do the freaking art myself, do the writing myself, do this, so on and so forth. And I'm not saying everybody should do that. I'm not saying everybody can do that. But I'm just saying that, like when somebody I could see what Brother Bakari said, in the sense of, Tariq can like, he can finish a project if he's basically if he has like a whole bunch of money from it. Like, he has so much money that it's like, if he didn't finish the project, there'll be something wrong. You know what I mean? Like what Koku was saying about optics. If you get money and you do not put something out, then like the optics are off already. And that's what happened to Umar. Like if you take 10 damn years to do that, after you collect so much money, then that's where it becomes, what's wrong with you. But like, realistically, if Umar got all that money and he didn't, like, if he got the full amount that he wanted up front and he didn't do anything, then like the optics are just even worse.
No, I appreciate that. You guys are right. Maybe I shouldn't have brought Tariq up, but you guys are right. I will say, I do think there are still people who, even with the money, because this happens with people who get like what they call that, those advances to write books and stuff. A lot of people still don't write the book. So I'll give them that. Bakari, you want to add something?
Yeah, yeah, and what I was going to say, when he was saying, with other people money, yes, and it has become a hustle, and that's your job. One thing I can say that has happened with that guy, me, I don't, if I don't say their name, I don't say people name that I don't respect. That's just me. I ain't telling nobody else to do that, so I would never say his name. But another thing that has happened, like, he focused on one thing, right? So he can focus on that one thing because he had the ability to hustle and pimp black people. So I'm focusing on this one thing. And if you're really trying to do something to move your people forward, really, it's hard to focus. You can't just focus on one thing. You're gonna need a committee of people to focus on certain things. And once we focus on certain things and what it is we want to do, uh, there's nothing that can stop us. We can do what needs to be done. When we raise money, my thing is, I thought it was supposed to be for, when we're doing something, it's supposed to be for the people. I think of, I wanted to pimp in take people money and then make it for me. And y'all could do the same thing if you want to make it for you and you alone, because that's who's winning. The people is not winning, right? So whatever situation it is, we're winning. And like he said with Dr. Umar, see, Dr. Umar didn't get all of the money. And the sad thing is, in this whole situation, Dr. Umar didn't get all the money because Dr. Umar is doing something serious. Dr. Umar is trying to build a school. Dr. Umar is not giving you jokes. Dr. Umar is not giving you beef. He's not telling you how black immigrants is trying to steal from you. He's not making you fight one another. Actually, what it shows is when somebody like the other guy can get some money, this is another way where it truly shows that how black people feel about each other, if that makes sense.
No, I feel you
Because
on
I
that.
don't. I don't know if I agree, Brother Bakari, with that. I think that initially, I think when that brought Tariq, I can say his name,
TM.
when he was selling the idea of hidden colors, I think that he had as a matter of fact, many black people believe in what he was trying to do because they didn't see him as a grifter initially. And I think that a lot of people believed in that idea. And I think that what he proved is that there are people, black folks, who are willing to support something outside of the church because we pay money. Well, a lot of us pay our monies, our tithes and offerings every Saturday or Sunday, you know what I mean, for the building fund. So I think that he was able to prove that if he could do that with that idea, that hidden colors idea, and take it to the level he took it to, there are many of us who have different kinds of ideas, and if we was to sell this idea to us that we are able to do other kinds of things. And I think that message changed because greed stepped in, and maybe the FBI agents, but I think that greed stepped in and he followed the algorithm. He said, well, hate will bring in more money for me. So that idea that idea or what he was selling eventually changed, into who deepest pockets. And I think that he ran to appeal to black people who had the deepest pockets. But I think originally, I think that Tariq was really getting money from all over the place. And I think that the reason for that is people felt like the idea, what he was selling was a legitimate one. And I think that if we, all of us individually would sell black people the same kinds of ideas, he's proven that that is possible. We could build certain things and black people would support it. I believe that. So, I don't think his initial idea, what he was selling to black people, was a grip. I don't think so. I could be completely wrong about it, but I don't think so. The pimp thing was a grip. But I think that his hidden colors thing was going in a different direction. But where it eventually went to, I don't see why black people are still supporting. We would support foolishness, but we will also support good ideas what we believe to be good ones. I believe.
Well said. Well said, Juana. You know what? We have a topic coming up with Tariq about
can I say this right quick? Just one
about
last thing, and I promise you I'm done. I'm gonna tell you why Hidden Colors was supported. Once again, black people like symbolism. Tariq showed that black people was in other places. To hear black people talk, see this show, we were all over the world, which I think we went all over the world. We were not already from there. That's what black people supported. And I would still say, Dr. Umar, with some of these conscious people, how many of these people have supported something that's going to educate your children? We don't. And that's the sad thing about it. But the grift, if you paid attention to everything, then the type of person he was and everything that he was about was, do y'all know why him and Dr. Umar fell out? With Dr. Umar said they was never as close. He was just on his documentary. But do you know why the beef went public?
I forgot. Go ahead and tell us, Bakari.
Because Dr. Umar, Dr. Umar was in the first two documentaries, right? So whenever Dr. Umar wanted to do a lecture and showing him being in the documentary, Tariq said he gave $2,000 to Dr. Umar's school. And after Hidden Colors, every time Dr. Umar wanted to do a lecture, and he wanted to. Tariq had blocked him where he couldn't continue to show the same email. So he got to the point every time he wanted to show himself in a documentary during a lecture about the hidden colors, Tariq forced him to pay for it. He said he ended up paying. He said he ended up paying damn near $2,000, going from place to place. People wanted to see him in the hidden colors, and he had to pay for it. So if you pay close attention, the scam and everything, even with the hidden colors, everything about this dude was already there. And the only reason I can say that because I listened to about two shows, maybe two shows, and I'm like, man, this dude ain't doing nothing but hustling. I don't give a damn about no hidden colors. I'm glad I didn't pay for none of it. So then my homeboy was like, man, how did it take you so long? Like, what you mean? I said, it took me like 2.5 hours. He's like, yeah, I know. Remember I called you? It took me 15 minutes to know he's doing nothing but hustling, even with the hidden colors. Everything about him was just a straight hustle. And once I sit back and listen, I'm like, yeah, you got me on that one. It shouldn't have taken me 2 hours. It should have only taken me 15 minutes to realize that. But everything about him, that's what he's always been about. But that's just me, you know.
No. I can't let you get away with that, Brother Bakari. Brother Bakari, you was telling us all the time that, people, we should see black people in a different kind of light. And when it comes to black folks doing business, we always attach like some kind of nefarious nature and element to it. Now I understand the inclination because we know we get hustlers. We know we get hustlers within our community. We know we get gangsters. We know we get people who want to try to take out. But I think that from the things that you say, and me too, because I have it down in me to where the first inkling is to say, well, this guy trying to take something off of me. I shouldn't trust him. And I want to dispense with that out of my mind. You know what I mean? I want to try to look at black people in a light that how black people is look at white folks. Because we will never question how their business practices. We would never question their business practices. So I am trying to have that same kind of attitude. Now I'm not saying what you ain't saying is warranted and granted, because maybe a hustler could be a hustler, who knows? But I'm saying that inclination, our first instinct to say, well, because to say, well, this guy is a gangster, this guy is like, I try to give a black man in business the benefit of the doubt first, because inside of me, it won't fight against it. That white supremacist inside of me will rail against that, question that. So I just say that you say this all the time, and I try to do that in a way to where I want to support black business. Maybe this is me up my like that. Let me give him a little piece of something and see what he does with it. If I feel like he's doing something productive with it, maybe I'm gonna give him more next time. You know what I mean? But I don't want to have this distrust, this natural distrust black people have for one another just because they decide to go into business. I could be wrong, but that's where I stand with that.
Let's go to the next topic. So just in case, because I know this topic coming up later, so
Yeah,
I don't want to really say anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm trying to cut the topic, because we come back to Tariq later. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says that depends. I guess to what Byron was saying. If the nefarious nature is attached to understanding the previous actions of the individual, as opposed to a reaction automatically. Remember, he was writing those pimp novels before the documentaries. So it depends on the info that's exposed,
Exactly.
that you're exposed to, I guess. Daily affirmation by Pauline joined us, saying good evening. Jonelle is here, saying good evening. Brother Bakari, of course, is with us on the panel now. Forecast Radio's out there saying, what's up, y'all? What's up, the forecast? Yeah, that was a good discussion. We're going to talk about Tariq and the whole prompt coming up tonight. So you can save those thoughts. In the meantime, shoot the breeze.